It does feel like this is the beginning of the end for the Game Awards, because it feels like basically everyone is upset for some reason or another. You know, Spider-Man fans are seething, Starfield fans are seething. I haven't seen a lot of people like seething about Hogwarts Legacy, but I'm sure they exist, right? And of course, there was the ridiculous Game of the Year situation in which Super Mario Bros. Wonder wasn't really talked about at all, right? It was absurd, right? We saw the Game Awards do their thing where they came out, you know, Jeff Keighley personally like gave blowjobs to Hideo Kojima and Sean Murray and Swen, you know, twice. And then like it was it was absurd, right? But the thing that offended me the most, and I think even this was such a blatant example of game award corruption, that even the crowd, which I'm sure is filled with shills and parasites who clearly are on Jeff Keighley's side, were put off by it, right? And I do think this is something that is going to kill the Game Awards in the long run, right? The fact that they gave Best Movie Adaption to The Last of Us, right? Not the far superior Super Mario Bros. Movie, which was far more successful, was far more popular, made way more money. You know, like the differences in popularity between like The Last of Us and Mario is laughable, right? Mario is like what? The second biggest video game IP ever. Like The Last of Us built itself on this idea that it was a major film franchise, like from the get-go. And it's fallen out of favor. It has been since The Last of Us Part 2, which the Game Awards also gave the Game of the Year to, right? By the way. It's been fallen by the wayside. This TV show was their attempt at like rekindling the magic, rekindling the appeal, getting people to talk about it again, and nobody really gave a shit. Okay, there was this brief wave when the show first came out where people pretended that the original Last of Us was good and that it didn't fall off until the second, but basically it died off within like the airing of the final episode, right? People did that thing they always do. We're like, oh, did Joel do the right thing? But like in reality, the Mario movie was objectively superior, right? It was an original storyline. It was something we've never seen before. It was an animated film. You know, it was just it had it hit it out of the park. It was way, way better than I think anybody really expected it to be, right? And it's embarrassing that the Game Awards seriously tried to pass off The Last of Us as the winner this year. In fact, like before this show aired, like this was the thing. I think I said this like during my nomination video where I was talking about this. Like, if The Last of Us wins again, this is absolute proof that the Game Awards are straight up rigged, because there is no metric whatsoever where The Last of Us comes out on top over Mario, right? Like nothing, right? Like, you know, there's just no reason to ever think that, really. But they tried to do it anyway. And you can watch the crowd when they announce the winners. Like, they look visibly confused. Like, there's not a lot of applause. Like, it's just like kind of, okay. It's like, because like, unlike video games, which take a lot of time investment and a lot of, like, people aren't going to play every game that comes out, right? That's the nature of this industry, right? Like, it's hard to keep up with everything for a normal, functional human being, right? But with movies, especially like video game adaptations, like, it should be easy to keep up with everything and really evaluate, like, what is and what isn't popular, right? And there is no denying that the Mario movie has retained its relevancy more than The Last of Us has. Nobody cares that The Last of Us is getting a season 2. But here we are talking about, like, the Legend of Zelda live-action movie, the Mario movie sequel. We're talking about the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Like, you've never seen anybody talk about the PlayStation Cinematic Universe. Like, oh, is The Last of Us going to kick off a wave of PlayStation movies? No. Because The Last of Us couldn't carry the PlayStation brand, right? Nobody wants to admit it, but like people like to do this thing where they pretend The Last of Us was like some major deal and some huge phenomenon, but in reality, that was the beginning of the end of the PlayStation brand. It was the It was the game that brought about this trend in gaming where developers honestly believe they can make a movie, convert it into a game, and come up with some like compelling experience, and have their game journalist friends shill for it, right? That's basically what we're seeing here with The Last of Us. It's been true since the very first game. Like none of that, like, oh, it went bad with the second game. No, no, it's been like this since the very beginning. Okay, there are so many better alternatives to The Last of Us. It's not even funny. And to think that they seriously threw that up there against the long-awaited Super Mario Bros. Movie, a good one, and they seriously tried to pass it off as the winner this year. Really, really, that's what they tried to do. That's what they thought they could get away with. That's what they thought would work. Like, they had to do it, right? Like, I released statements about this because, like, The Last of Us, like, PlayStation Productions is like their next major step forward for PlayStation. Like, this is how they're gonna try to pull in the normies. This is how they're gonna trick them into thinking that like PlayStation is some big viable brand by like funneling money into all these like video game adaptation projects. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog, Halo, Fallout. Like, it's all just going to like they have to head off the Nintendo stuff because like I think once Nintendo starts dominating in the movie industry regularly, like the Mario movie did, like we're going to be seeing a lot of coping and seething from these people because like it's not going to be possible to downplay how popular this stuff anymore, right? Like once they go like full movies, like full movie mode, once they start outperforming Marvel movies, once they're the biggest thing in the box office, which you know kind of already happened this year with the Mario movie, like once they're putting out hit after hit year after year, like it's gonna be impossible to write the brand off like they used to, like doing the thing they used to, where like this next piece of Nintendo hardware is gonna fail, so then Nintendo will have to go third party. They've been doing it forever. Like people are gonna be seeing these Mario movies and they're going to be going out and buying Nintendo hardware. You know, they're going to be buying Nintendo games. Like people who have never heard of the brand before are going to start getting involved in it. Like it's going to be easier than ever to get into. And there is going to be nothing the establishment can do to trick people into thinking that like, oh, no, nobody wants to play 2D Mario anymore. Like they want to play Spider-Man, you know, Spider-Man, which won all of like 0 awards this year. Like, it's like really, like they seriously tried doing this thing, right? They seriously tried to everything they could to downplay Nintendo this year, right? They tried to pass themselves off as an unbiased. You know, they weaponized Baldur's Gate 3 probably because it was available on all major platforms, and they it's a convenient excuse. You know, they sacrificed Spider-Man so they could like use Baldur's Gate and use that to downplay like all the great Nintendo games this year. Like it's not just about Zelda, it's not just about Mario, it's everything that came out this year. You know, Fire Emblem Engage was better, Cereza and the Lost Demon was better, the Pokemon DLC was better, you know, Splatoon 3 was better. You know, like there are so many like great Nintendo games that are just going to be talked about and played for years to come. That I said this going into this, but I think I mean this even more now. Like seeing the awards play out, like uh, the Game of the Year metric doesn't mean anything, right? Like when you look at it objectively, like there's no way that Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna retain any real relevancy long term, right? Like compared to what Zelda is doing, right? You know, this is a repeat of what happened with Skyrim and Witcher 3 and Mass Effect, where like the industry props up some RPG franchise, declares it better than the Nintendo equivalent because it's more progressive, and then over a period of the next couple of years, like they completely fall off, right? It's gonna happen with Baldur's Gate. It's happened with like The Last of Us. It's happened with like all of this stuff, right? So, like right now, I do think the major thing to take away from this, the Game Awards in general, is just, yeah, it's completely done. It's over, right? Like I'm never watching the show again. I'm never caring about it. Jeff Keighley needs to commit seppuku. Like he needs to like go to Japan and just like ritualistically just you know go through the traditional you know doing it because Yeah, like this was a disgrace. It was disrespectful to actual creators. It was disrespectful to like the industry at large. It was disrespectful, especially to like Japanese creators, I think. It was appalling. This was, I think, the West's attempt at like reestablishing dominance that they had from like the 2007 to 2013 uh, 2013 period where like the Japanese weren't able to keep up. Like they think that by like rigging these award shows and by like promoting Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, they can like drive Nintendo into bankruptcy. But like I don't think it's gonna work. I think more and more people are getting increasingly upset with these awards. It's not just me, it's not just Nintendo fans, it's everyone. A lot of people are upset about like what happened here. And yeah, it's not just one or two categories. It's not just a corporation. It is an entire corrupt industry that is trying to push an agenda onto us. Like I don't want to see Sean Murray on stage. I don't want to see Hideo Kojima. I don't want to see any of this. Like I don't want to see Neil Druckmann ever again. Right? Like, and I do think that is like the real problem these people are going to have going forward is that like eventually Hideo Kojima's name is going to be toxic. Eventually Sean Murray's name is going to be toxic. Eventually Neil Druckmann's name is going to be toxic. I would argue that like if you know who any of these people are, like they're already toxic. Like even Hideo Kojima, who has the most credibility out of all those guys, is like I was surprised at how many people in my chat were like trashing him and everything he's done since leaving Konami. Like I agree with that, but like I'm someone who's praised his early body of work, someone who was invested in him, but like he threw it all away for no reason. I talked about this on stream. Sean Murray is a fraud. The entire narrative that like No Man's Sky is good now is entirely fabricated by game journalists, people who involve with the Game Awards. So I think the Game Awards failings have reached the point where it is time for gamers to openly disavow them. Okay, like that's my stance at this point. It is time to like just acknowledge that like these shows are not getting better. Okay, like they are doing everything in their power to influence the masses and trick people into thinking garbage games and garbage developers are worth supporting, but in reality, people are playing other games. They don't care about what's being talked about at the Game Awards. They don't care about these fraud developers. They don't care about these journalists. They don't care about the gaming equivalent of the Oscars, right? That's kind of my opinion of this year's show, is that like this was basically gaming's Oscar night. And that is the lowest possible bar that I could possibly set for this kind of award show.